Welcome back to episode 12 of Why Do I Do That? We have Steph back today and we have a loaded question. So today's question is, why do I cheat? And the second part to that was, even when I feel really bad after each time, I just keep doing it. And yeah, it is a bit of a loaded question because I feel like everybody has like heavy opinions on this. And I can kind of see it from all different angles, like working with people, but yeah, being in situations in the past where I have been cheated on, knowing how much like pain it causes. Like there's so many different things, but I'd love to hear your like knee-jerk reaction to that person's question, because it's not actually just one person. I've had 3 people who have asked similar variations of the question.
Yeah, so it definitely is a loaded question because it's a controversial one, right? Like anything controversial can be like, ooh, like, you know. I feel as though with this question, my immediate knee-jerk reaction is definitely like shadow work, because our deepest, darkest truths that lay within us can be so triggering to speak about for a lot of people because they have their own truth around it, whether it's an emotional event that's happened in their life or there's actually a really deep, if we're getting really deep and shadow working, you know,
Always.
there is, and breathe through this if you're listening to this, and like, you know, development is something that's quite new for you and whatnot, but a lot of the time there's some sort of truth within ourselves that can make us so triggered about hearing on these topics. And because maybe there's a desire for us to have more passion in our lives. It's not necessarily saying that you have a desire to go and cheat on someone, but it's like, oh, I have an innate desire to do something rebellious or something passionate or something naughty. And that's really deep and quite suppressed in me. And when I hear that someone else has done something along those lines, it's bringing that desire actually forward, and I'm triggered by them doing something that I actually want to do, even if it's not the exact same thing or context.
Yeah.
So that's definitely my knee-jerk reaction. And from that, I see it from like I have had a lot of experiences around cheating myself. I've been cheated on blankly. I have had it within the family. I've seen it destroy lives. And so with that, I'm saying I have 2 truths around it. My really personal truth is that I've seen the pain that it causes. And so I have that emotional truth. But I also love humans. And I really am passionate about understanding people's why and people's patterns. That's literally something that we both love, and that's what we like.
It's the whole podcast.
It's the whole podcast, right? And when I look at it from through that lens of humans being humans and acting in certain ways, I get curious about it. I get loving towards it. I move warmly towards the part of you, whoever asked this question, that is struggling with this in their life.
Because it almost sounds like an addiction. It's like I can't stop. It's
yes,
like I
right?
feel
It's
bad
giving
every
that
time.
same kind of energy. And a lot of the time people are feeling so much guilt and shame around it already, hence the second part of this question. And who in the world am I to add to that? That doesn't feel good for me. If anything, I lean towards it with curiosity, and curiosity towards the part of you that is getting something out of this.
A need met.
And also a curiosity towards, I have heard this many times and I love it, of our patterns reveal our unconscious wants and needs. So if you have a pattern in your life that is always leading to shame and guilt and a negative, I say that lightly, but in terms of the context, experience, there's something unconsciously wanting you to experience that, because maybe in childhood you witnessed your parents always being shameful and guilty, and there was something to do with your upbringing that had a pattern and an experience of shame and guilt, and you actually learnt to feel comfortable in that and addicted to that very early on.
That's a real thing. It's trauma recreation.
Yes, and you're actually like recreating this because your unconscious actually feels safe in that. And it's getting from this cheating this internal experience that it's actually repeating what was normal to it.
Yeah.
So that's what comes to mind for me if I'm looking at it from this curious, loving part. And I really encourage you to do that in order to change these patterns, whilst also taking radical action and responsibility for addiction, essentially. But yeah, I hope I ended. I hope that made sense.
No,
but
that totally made sense. And there is so many ways that, like I've spoken about this before, there's so many ways that you can answer one question, and there's so many reasons why somebody could be doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
I watched the Ashley Madison documentary, which we were talking about before we jumped on the podcast, and you haven't watched that before, but essentially what it is Ashley Madison is like this website where designed for married people to be able to connect with other married people, to be able to have affairs. And the like, it was like, don't quote me, but I think it was like 30 million or 60 million. There was like a stupid amount of people on this website.
Yeah.
And eventually what happened was their names got leaked, and there was like famous people on there, and it was like this huge scandal. All the names got leaked of the people that were having affairs. And I watched the whole series, and then I did like a set on my stories on Instagram, unpacking the documentary. And it was really fun.
How did I miss this?
I don't know. Basically what I found was that almost all of the people, like when they were interviewed, they wanted to be married. Like they loved their partners. And in some of them, like you could see how much they loved their partners. Like it was when they talked about them, when they were with them, they loved their partners. But what all of them seemed to be missing, and they didn't say this directly, but obviously analysing in the way that I do, they all didn't feel alive. They were missing that like aliveness, like that feeling of like excitement, and aliveness was like the main word. And I actually posted this story set, and I got lots of different responses. A lot of people were like, oh, wow, that makes sense. And one lady wrote back to me and she's like, I'm that person. I'm married. I've been having an affair for a long time. She might even be the one who wrote the question. And she was like, but it's not aliveness for me. And I was like, oh, okay, what is it then? And she was like, oh, you know, I think it was, I can't even remember what she said, but she said a couple of things. And I was like, and so then how did that make you feel? And she's like, oh, I guess alive. And I was like, cool.
Yes.
But I feel like if you break it down a lot of the time, the people that are doing it, and you said like fulfilling a need, kind of the same thing. But I think the need is that people don't feel alive. And there was one guy on there who he had been cheating on his wife for a long time. And then they had like a family YouTube, like with their kids and stuff. And their YouTube ended up taking off, and they were like YouTube stars. Yeah. And once he started to feel like he had purpose with like the YouTube channel and with his wife, he completely stopped cheating. He said, because I felt so alive and excited by my life that I didn't even think about going on the website anymore. It just faded away. Yeah. And so I started thinking about like, oh, how many people just like, it's got nothing to do with sex. It's got nothing to do with loving their partner, not loving their partner. They just don't feel alive inside. Yes. And they're just searching for something to make them feel excited and alive. Yep. I mean, there's definitely better ways of doing it, but like, but like, it's also so accepted because there's a website there, like, ready to go for you.
There's so many ways to access those things. It's like alcohol. It's like drugs. It's like a lot of the addictions that we see very prevalently in our lives today. They're accessible. Yeah. And it's easier to reach them. And like, not condoning it essentially, for lack of a better word, but it's accessible to you. And I definitely agree with that. I think it's like that need and that passion, and, you know, like you said, there's so many reasons as to why it could be happening, but that is definitely one of the strongest ones that does come to mind around like that. What is your unconscious goal? Like, what is that feeling? What is that thing that you're chasing? And I think it's really also about going and sitting with that, because it's very easy consciously, and it also ticks off a box in your head of being like, yeah, I'm trying to get it because I want to feel more alive and I want to do this. But like, get a little bit closer to it, get a little bit more curious about it, and get more specific about what you're, like that passion that you're craving. You know, it goes so much deeper than just being like, oh, well, if you want to feel alive, then go jump out of a plane and like skydive, you know, like, I mean, if you did that every day, yeah, maybe, but
it might get boring.
Yeah, it's like, it's so easy to say to someone, we'll figure out another way to do it. But it's like,
It's
will
so easy to do it that way if you've
but it's like you will figure out a way, I guess, easier if you explore and get curious about that exact need that you're trying to meet. Like if it is alive, like what is it about feeling alive? Like what about your current life doesn't make you feel alive?
Yeah.
You know, just asking a few more questions about that need that you're trying to meet so that you can have more alignment to more opportunity to change it. Because if it's just, I want to feel alive, then that's a bit too general.
I guess it also depends on the context of like, are you cheating with one person or are you cheating with multiple people? And are you cheating and like fulfilling some like sexual fantasies that you don't feel comfortable fulfilling in your relationship? Or are you being a different person? And who's that person that you're trying to be? And why can't you be that in your relationship? And it's like not being able to ask for your needs to be met in relationship, because how many people can't ask, like, to talk about their sexual needs with their partners and is so uncomfortable around that conversation. And there's so many things that just like come up in my head as like
context,
the things that it could be, and the context of like what's happening.
Yeah, definitely. And what came to your mind? I think as well, I love the idea of like choose your heart, or you know, choose your fear, right? And when you said that, what came to my mind is like the idea of cheating and the guilt and shame that comes with that, and the prospect of them finding out for some reason is less scary to you than maybe communicating your needs or being honest with yourself, or like insert context or insert nuance to what's actually going on. So for example,
instead of being vulnerable.
So I guess like I'm looking at it through this lens of like, once you have gotten clear on the context, whoever's asked this question, because you know your experience around like you said, like, is there sexual fantasies that you are fulfilling with another person because you can't fulfill it in your relationship because you're scared to ask for that, you're scared to bring that part of yourself forward. Communication, get clear on what it is around what you're scared of in your relationship, your current relationship, and then figure out why that is more scary to you than the cheating, than the guilt, than the shame, than them finding out you're cheating. Because whatever it is, it must be terrifying for your unconscious. And there would be a reason for that. Whether it's your upbringing, whether it's a previous trauma, whether there's something contributing to why that is such a fear for you to bring that part of yourself forward, or to communicate your needs, or like what's going on there. Like that's what's coming to my mind as well. Or
like I've had so many clients where they've tried to do that so many times and then it didn't, like there was no response. And so it's like that comfort of, instead of leaving, they just, like the easier option felt like to just get those needs met somewhere else because that person just wasn't meeting them.
Yeah.
So it's,
I guess that's where that radical honesty piece comes in.
Yeah.
Of being honest about the current relationship you're in that you were holding on to and cheating in. And being like, and I know that's easier said than done, and it's really, really scary, but I think it could be a really beautiful piece to discover. And maybe you have been honest with yourself and then you're still doing it. But I guess that's where that understanding for the part of you that is cheating comes in, if that makes sense. So it's like
accepting that part. Yeah. I had a client who actually, like, we like could clearly define these two different personalities that she had. And when she was like at home, she felt like this, like, she had to be a mum, she had to be serious, she had to be, you know, the perfect wife, the perfect friend. And she had, like, you almost could see she would like speak different and act different. And then she had this other version of herself that was like wild and crazy and fun and just like had so much like life in her personality. But that was a personality that would cheat and was having affairs with like multiple people. And it was like so hard for her to break down, like, and the work that we did essentially was like, that's a version of you. That version of you doesn't have to cheat to feel that way. What you need to do is blend these two versions. So we did like parts work to be like, how can you be more wild and free and crazy at home? And how can you be like a little bit more sensible and responsible when you're out doing that, and how do we like blend those two worlds so that there is more of a balance between these two parts of yourself that are really polarizing.
Yes.
And through that work, like she stopped cheating, so she started to like, we brought the two personalities together so that she was just like one person. But I feel like there would be so many, I mean, she had a lot of trauma, and this is like a really like DID, multiple personality sort of situation, but I feel like everyone has that to some scale.
Yes.
And so it's like it's the same as like, you know, when you like when we show up here to speak in the podcast, like the way that you show up here is going to be different to when you're laying in bed talking to your partner at home versus Steph that shows up to the party versus like we have these different versions. But I feel like some people just get so used to, especially as like in a serious relationship or marriage or mums or whatever, they're like, that's that me and this is this me, and they're like, there's no blending of like that part that they used to be that maybe gets pushed down, so it ends up getting really big, which is that shadow work. Like they're not looking at it, so it gets bigger and louder, and then they end up cheating to be that version of themselves that they used to be.
I'm like, my head's gonna fall off. I'm nodding so much for those just listening. I definitely think, it's like this amplification or like grander scale of embracing different parts of you, embracing different parts of your identity, and giving yourself permission to have them coexist as one. They are all you, and they are allowed to exist within you. And it's like that healthy adaptation almost of like each one. And I really love that because it feels creative, and it feels like it's working with someone's expansion too. It's like giving a little bit and like putting it in here and putting it in here, and just like bringing them back to that unity and just knowing. So it's like, for example, I can absolutely relate to this. Like who I am at the snow, I'm very authentic and I have a lot of integrity, and that's actually hard at times at the snow to bring that through. But who I am there is a different character and a different version of me, of like when I'm at home and I'm like a beach gypsy, and like, you know, I'm a coach, and you can relate to this because we've had times at the beach where we're just sitting there being like, I love being a coach and I love being a mermaid. Like, you know, like,
and different places can do it as well. So that's like also, my sister always jokes that there's like Jess and then there's Byron Jess, because she lives in Byron Bay, and she's like, every time you come up here, you're on. Like, and I do. I feel it. I get there and I'm like, I'm funny and I'm crazy and wild, and like you can feel. And there's different. I guess it's like, I always think like, what is it? What is it about that situation that brings out that version of me? Why can't I bring that version of me out somewhere else? Where is it blocked somewhere else? And I think bringing it back to like the cheating, it's like, what version of you do you get to be? Like, is it like, are you being saucy? Are you being like naughty? Are you being like, and I guess the act of it in itself is like, is naughty. And there's people that say that it feels good to do bad things or whatever. There's like a saying about that. I don't have that personally, because I'm like too honest, and it makes me feel sick to even tell a small lie. I'm like, but like some people have that feeling of like, it feels good to be naughty and things like that. So integrating that would be like the ideal first step. Is like, integrate that into your relationship, and that can be so awkward to, if you've like shown up as like this like proper like certain person in your relationship, and you've just been having beige sex for ages, and then all of a sudden you're like, fucking tie me up and like get
smack
up
me on the
all these things, and
they come home and there's like a chair hanging from the roof.
But like that again was also some of my advice to this client. Like what are you not getting? But even with her, it's really interesting as well. Like there was different men she was getting different things from. So there was one that was like super like almost feminine and was like really nurturing, and there was one that was like they just laughed all the time, and like there was all these like different things that she wasn't getting in her relationship that she was actually getting from different people. And so it's also like, how can you, again, that was in like not being able to, she had then communicated her needs to her partner, and he just never followed through with actually doing any work on himself. And so that's that thing sometimes of you get left behind. And so it's like working, it comes back to like a relationship thing. Like, can you communicate what you do and don't like and need and want, and what's working for you, not working for you. And so many people are, like you said, like they're so afraid of that they think cheating is the easier option than actually having to say how they feel or what they think will be vulnerable.
It really brings around to that, right? Like, so true. And I think as well, like, I would love the person that asked this question to get curious about if you are thinking it's spicy or naughty, or there's a word that you're putting on it in terms of like what you think it is, where does that show up in other parts of your life or earlier parts of your life? Like whether in high school, like I know I keep bringing everything back to that, but I just think it's so key of like, were you told you were that for a period of time in your life, and therefore you're, again, like habitually playing it out?
Were you called a slut all the time in high school?
Or like, were you when like you're naughty or like things like that, and you weren't, and it was like a tease at high school because you were really good at maths, and a guy said to you or a woman said to you, oh my gosh, you're so naughty, just like act out for once in your life or something like that. You were told that, and then you're like, click, like, okay. And then maybe that's playing out, or the opposite of like, were you I'm going to put little rabbit quotation marks up for those that are just listening, like a really goody two shoes, and you're fulfilling something that you didn't get at an earlier part, you know, like just considering, were you told that? Were you not told
Always
that? And therefore desiring it? Like that can also be an introspective, powerful question to ask, because you can then tie it to that, and that in the process of doing that as well, start to liberate yourself from some of the guilt and shame, because you are a worthy person. Even though this is something playing out in your life, you are inherently worthy, you are loved. And I think allowing yourself to release some of that guilt and shame is actually a really key piece here in transcending beyond it.
And seeing it as like information, kind of like,
yes, objectively,
A plus B equals C. It's not like I'm this and I'm that and this is what it means about me. It's like, okay, I'm doing this thing. Where's it coming from? Like, what's that about? Where's that information? I always say, like, you're data collecting about yourself when you start diving into these things. You're not looking at it you got to stop looking at it from this lens of like, I'm such a shit person and all that shame that comes with it. And just be like, information. Oh, what's that about?
Yes. And I think as well, what I love about that is if you take it on as new information, potentially when you started to cheat or when you first cheated, you gave it a meaning straight away. I am this means this about me.
Yeah.
And that has stuck. Yeah. And it's now a part of your identity, and therefore it needs to change on an identity level, because we've got like logical change, emotional change, and then below that is identity change. Yes. So if you've taken it on as an identity because of that first experience, or you did it once and then you felt a certain way and now that means something about you and you've taken it on as that is connected to you now, it creates that more hardship around changing. But I think releasing that and identity piece through one, identity work, but also from that objective lens, like this is new, this is information, you did a thing, and I think it's like taking that emotion out of it a bit in order to change, stop hurting yourself, stop hurting other people, because the reality is cheating can hurt people. And I'm probably aware that this person knows that, and I think that's where the reason for change starts with you, but it ripples out and it helps everyone. It's not just for you. You're not changing just for you. You're changing for the people around you, and it's allowed to start with you and lean into that with love. And then if you need to, though, foster the strength from knowing that you change it in order to ensure you're not hurting other people or continuing to hurt other people.
Yeah, because there is that reality of like, it's really hurtful and harmful to other people as well. So being mindful of how your actions affect other people, which is also potentially in some people in like those chronic cases, I think it comes back to that avoidance as well, like of just being able to just kind of, I would almost go as far to say that almost all people who cheat, especially often, would be avoidant attachment styles, because they're the people that can't be vulnerable, can't go all in on the relationship. It would have to be like an archetype, surely.
Yeah.
But getting comfortable with like noticing what your attachment style is and why you're doing that. But when you were talking about identity before as well, the first thing that like dropped into my mind was I was thinking, of course, people like do it once and then get this like thing in their head of like, once a cheater, always a cheater. Like,
yes.
like
that
who
is
hasn't heard that
collective
saying?
message.
Yeah.
So you've just taken it on of like, well, that is who I am.
That's who I am. I once a cheater, always a cheater. And it's like,
Yeah.
if anyone finds out, they'll just label me as that.
Yes.
And so
I'm
I
breaking
mean,
down that right now.
it's
If you
kind
have
of
cheated, you're not always a cheater.
not always a cheater. You can change.
Yes.
You can change.
We are putting that to rest.
This person definitely needs to be aware that, like, yeah, you can change. And I think with change has to become like that work with your attachment styles, because I can almost guarantee that you're an avoidant, and I can almost guarantee that there's issues in being able to be vulnerable in your relationship. And so working on your attachment style is going to, and if we think about it, every avoidant actually has parts of anxious, and that's what's made them become avoidant. Like, you're anxious before you're avoidant. And so if you think about that, that like deeper next layer, they're potentially also doing it to avoid themselves from actually being hurt. It's like, hurt someone before they hurt you. It's stupid, but fucking everyone does it.
Yeah.
And so there's not everyone, but like, you know, in this situation, everyone's like, oh, I'll just cheat. And it's like, I'll leave that level of like disconnection so that I can never really be hurt by you, because I'm already like 1 foot out the door.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to be okay because I'm already hurting myself. Like, yeah.
And that's why people then don't lean into the attachment style work or into like healing the avoidance, because underneath that is the anxious. And then it's like, don't leave me, you're going to cheat on me. The amount of people that I know, I actually have a friend who was cheating, and she was so stressed all the time about being cheated on. And I was like, because it's that thing of like, the anxious
that
part
reflection.
of you. The anxious part of you doesn't want to be hurt by a partner. And so then you do it as a like stupid tactic to like protect yourself from the hurt, because you're also doing it too, just in case they are doing it.
Yes, that is the shadow work piece there. Yeah. And for those listening, like, if you're like, what is shadow work, or like you want to, and the person asking this question, like, if you want to look into that unconscious part of you, start being curious about how you're observing other people. Like, that's like the fundamentals of shadow work, right?
Yep.
And the last thing I want to say on this too, I'm kind of wrapping it up for you.
You can totally wrap it up for me. We've got like 45 seconds, so boom.
The last thing that I want to say about this as well is the part of you that is cheating needs to change as much as the conscious part of you wants to change. So what I mean by this is, like, consciously it can be like, I feel bad, I want to change, but it's actually about getting up cozy with the part of you that's cheating, the identity part of you that's cheating, and seeing if she wants to change.
Yeah.
And healing and working with her to be like, and talking to that part of you to be like, do you want to change? Because at the end of the day, there is a part of you getting something out of this. And working with that part of you to create that change. Because if you're only working with the part of you that's like, oh, I want to create change because I'm feeling bad, that more like conscious part, the other version of you, the other part of you, then most likely, especially if this has been happening over years and a long time, that unconscious part is going to pull those strings.
Yeah.
Like, our unconscious mind makes up what?
95%.
95%. Yeah, I was like nearly reversed it then. So if 95% of you is getting something out of this and not wanting to change, but 5% of you is saying, I want to change, I feel bad, then of course the 95% is going to overpower it. So get up cozy and create change with the version of you that is cheating.
Yeah.
And
love that.
Love them too. Like, that's a big part of shadow work. Like, love them. Like, I feel like a broken record sometimes, but I'm just like,
be loved. Just love all your parts.
like it's, you're not going to get anywhere if you shame them. So
no, it doesn't help anyone.
Yeah, that's definitely my little mic drop, but we won't drop this mic because it's expensive.
You can't really. It's on a stand unless you kick it over.
Yeah.
Please don't. I think they're expensive. Yeah. All right. So that's us. I feel like if you are someone who relates to this, I hope you've got a lot out of this episode. If you know someone who is cheating, sneaky send them this episode.
Yes.
Be careful. But yeah, please share, and thanks again for listening.
Beautiful.